What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod, on YouTube at March 4th Pod, on TikTok at March 4th Podcast. And all of the links for my stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you checking out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. I hope that everybody's doing well, man. I know I say it on every show, but I mean it. We're 2 months into the new year, and I'm realizing I focus a lot on time too. I always mention like, oh, da, da, and maybe that's just like one of my things that I'm always worried about the next thing or focus on the next thing. So maybe I just need to be a little bit more present in the present moment. But I do bring up the fact that we're 2 months into the new year because I hope that you guys are off to a great start in 2024. I hope you're chasing your dreams. I hope that you're persevering, that you're moving forward, all the things that this show is about. I know I've got some irons in the fire and I'm working on myself. And this week's was just one of those weeks where it was like I felt like my energy was just crap. You know what I mean? Like running around. And it was a productive week. It was a good week. And it was a good work week and all that. But it's just one of those things where it's like there's still some old habits, as the saying goes, old habits die hard. Like there's still some old habits that I have that I need to shake, and I've made a lot of improvements, but just in terms of consistent rest, consistent exercise, one of my goals as I approach my 36th birthday is to really get in really good shape. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to look like Captain America and Marvel, and I don't need to, right? I'm not a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans or a right wing for the Nashville Predators. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for me to be, you know, built like that, right? And I don't got the money for that grocery bill to be eating 7,000 calories a day to be 200 pounds of muscle. I digress. But nor do I have Hollywood to pay for all of the trainers and the dietitians that I would need to look like Chris Hemsworth. But yeah, I just had a goal of being in my mid 30s and wanting to be in the best physical shape, mental shape, spiritual shape, and emotional shape possible for this stage of my life. It's crazy to think that I've been in Nashville for almost a decade, and there's so many things that I've gone through, even the last few years, man, that have really changed me as a person. Some for worse, but mostly for better. And that's really all you can hope for in life is to learn and grow and change, and all of the experiences that you accumulate over your life really culminate to whoever you are right in this present moment. So yeah, I guess that's just kind of a little rant to myself. I do focus a lot on time, but so far, 2024 is off to a great start. The podcast is off to a great start. And that's another thing. I try not to pay attention to the numbers too much. It's more about the relationships and the connections that you make with people, both guests of the show and when people reach out and say kind words about the show, which happened recently, man. And it's really cool when people connect with you, that you didn't even know, and it happened to be on a difficult day for me, and somebody reached out and was like, "Yo, I love your show. There's somebody else that I want you to get in touch with. If you want to get them on your show, is it cool if I share your content?" And it's like when you have people do that, man, it just goes to show you how far kind words go and how important it is to be good to each other. And that's why I say that at the end of every show is a tribute to my Gramp. Keep the faith and be kind to one another because it's so important. So many people unfortunately mistake kindness for weakness, or they take people who are more gentle and more down to earth for granted. I know in my life there have been people who have crossed my path, both people who I was close to and just people I didn't even know that well who had my kindness mistaken for weakness. And and sometimes that's a good thing because people underestimate you, but sometimes it's also like there's so many crappy people out there. Like appreciate the good ones, dudes. Be good to the good people out there. Be good to everybody, but appreciate the good people when they come along, man. And I've been really fortunate to have a good circle, and thankfully I've had way more positive experiences and than negative ones in my life, and I'm very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. But yeah, man, just be cool. just be cool. Being cool isn't wearing a leather jacket and looking like James Dean, man. Being cool is just, being kind to people, holding the door, being the first to extend your hand, looking people in the eye, giving a firm handshake, being helpful to people, uh, you know, trying to be there for people the best way you can. That's the most important thing, man. And understanding that there are times where you have to stand your ground. You have to unfortunately face certain conflicts in your life, but it's how you respond in those situations. And my whole thing is always don't vibrate with other low energy people. Meaning when people meet you at a level where, they're behaving disrespectfully, or they're trying to get a rise out of you in a negative way, don't go down to their level. You know what I'm saying? Like that low frequency behavior, that's not where you should be vibrating at. That's not where you should have your antenna tuned. There's too many other positive things waiting for you than to swim in that sea with all of those crazy piranhas. You know what I'm saying? There's calmer waters, and there's much better beaches to vacation. So don't hang out with those people, man, because it's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. And that's one thing that I've learned over time too, man. It's just stand your ground when you need to. And again, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not advocating that anybody goes out there and starts brawling with people. All right, because violence is never the answer. What I am saying though is, sometimes, you got to be firm with people. You got to let them know where you stand. You got to let them know, hey, you can't do that, and that's a good thing. That's being kind doesn't mean you're a pushover. It just means that you treat people how you want to be treated. You hold yourself accountable for your actions, and when you encounter low frequency behavior, you rise above it. And so those are all things that I'm focusing on as I soldier ahead in 2024, man. But so far the year's been off to a great start. This was just one of those weeks where it was like, I'm conscious the older I get of how important it is to rest and recharge, and to have a positive, consistent routine, and, checking myself on where and who I give my energy to. And so as I look ahead to March, my birthday month, shout out to all my fellow Pisces out there. I'm not going to start going down an astrology rabbit hole because I know some of y'all think all of that stuff is hullabaloo. I will tell you, I think there's some truth in it. Don't live my life by it, but I think there's some truth in it. But shout out to all the sensitive, dreamy Pisces out there, man. Um, but yeah, so I'm really excited for what the year has ahead. There's some cool things coming up that I will share as they unfold. But I really just want to say thank you to everybody who rocks with the show, man, because it really does mean a lot. And the kind words and the feedback that I do get from the people who take the time to engage with the show or reach out to me, um, it goes a long way, man. And like I said, somebody made my day recently just from kind words and sharing my content, and let me know how the message of my show was positive, and that was really cool, man. It was really cool. So shout out to all the good people out there doing their thing and being good to people. And speaking of people doing their thing and being good to people, um, this week's guest, one of them, I should say, is a return guest to the show, and it's always great when people want to come back. We first got in touch right around this time last year, when their single Separation came out, and we had a great conversation. He has since moved to Nashville, and reunited again with a pal and a fellow musician that he goes way back with. This week's guest is none other than Royalty Cult, and specifically, we've got Josh and Dave of Royalty Cult. And like I said, these guys go way back, man. As far as playing music together, as you will hear on this show. Josh came on the show last year when Separation came out. They had a really cool music video for that featuring Gail Kim. It's dope. Go check it out. I mean, listen to the rest of this first, but go check it out. But Josh at the time was living in LA. He has since relocated to the Music City. We actually got a chance to meet in person back in August, and both of our lives have been pretty busy since then. Me with everything I've got going on, and him with his music and getting settled in, and connecting with people in Nashville. Excuse me, little coffee burp. I'm leaving it in. But it was cool. We got a chance to meet up in person in August and go to a show, and that was really cool. Met some other cool artists there, who I hopefully will get on the pod. And it's just cool to meet people in person, and to meet people who are chasing their dreams and trying to use their art and their gifts for a positive outcome, and to reach people in a positive way. And as you guys will hear in this conversation, their latest single, "The Dying," featuring Jeff Sills, ended up being a really beautiful tribute. And I don't want to give too much away because it's all going to be in the deets of the conversation with Josh and Dave. But it just goes to show you the power of music, man. And the music video for it turned out really great. It was a beautiful tribute. And it's just one of those serendipitous things where the name of the song and their friend Jeff and how it all came out. It just sometimes things work out in sort of a cyclical, beautiful way and not the way you intended them, maybe when you first started that project. And this is one of those stories. So it was great to catch up with Josh. It was great to meet Dave digitally and get his perspective on Royalty Cult and their relationship. And you're about to hear all of it. So I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Josh and Dave of Royalty Cult. Here it is. Well, dudes, thanks again so much for taking the time, man. I'm really excited to talk with y'all. Obviously, Josh is a return guest. It's always nice when people come back, and he's been living in the Music City now for about a year. So it was cool to get a chance to catch up and meet you in person back in August, man. But just
Yep.
so people are aware of who you guys are and what you do, and so they know who's speaking, why don't you tell them your name and what you play and who Royalty Cold is, man?
I am Joshua Michael, and I sing for the band Road School, and also contribute in writing. And yeah, this is my partner Dave. He stepped away for a second, and he's back. We started this project together back in 2016, and it's just an honor to be playing with him again. And yeah, so we are here and trying to keep moving forward. And marching forth, as your podcast is called, and just keep persevering.
Yeah, so tell me how you guys originally got connected, man.
We go back quite a ways, actually. Yeah, like
Sorry,
what's it been
brother.
now? 15 years?
Yeah, it's been almost 15 years or about that. In 2009, we got together because I answered an ad for a vocalist, and for our old band called Interim Divine. And yeah, Dave was playing drums in that. He plays drums in Royalty Cult, and he writes the music, and we write the lyrics and stuff together of Royalty Cult. But yeah, we met back then, and we played together maybe it was about 6 years that I was in Interim Divine.
Yep.
That's when we met, and we just stayed friends ever since through the ups and the downs of life and of being musical partners. We decided to just do this thing that we do together.
Yeah.
So how
absolutely.
did that first come about? Was that in LA?
South of LA. We initially were in the Inland Empire. There's a town called Hemet, California, near Temecula. Most people are probably familiar with Temecula, California. Grew up there, put a band together. Things were looking good with the vocalist, and then last minute he exited as the project was, kind of kicking off. And yeah, we put out an ad, and Josh answered. We pretty much canceled all the other auditions after he came, and him and I have been writing together ever since.
Yeah, when Josh crossed my path, man, shout out to Johnny over at High Road Publicity. He's been a big supporter of the show, but checking out y'all's album that came out in 2020, and obviously, and not to name drop because I ain't like that, but just because you guys know him, he's a good dude. But like I was saying before we officially hit record, Dot Coyle, who a lot of people know from Bad Wolves and God Forbid, amongst his other projects and his podcast, but I know you guys got a chance to do a song and a music video with him, and he played with you guys at the Whiskey. But it was cool to talk to Josh just about that experience in the Whiskey, and I kind of want to go back to that just from the standpoint of being in LA and that music scene and the obviously the music business is out there, the movie business is out there. It's not an easy place to make your name. I mean, what was that like for you guys as you were building Royalty Cult, around that era, and being able to connect with people like Doc, who's obviously one of the good ones in the scene. I mean, but what was that like just just trying to get your name out there and even being able to play at a place like the Whiskey?
We sort of had a head start because of the stuff that we did in Intern Divine prior. So we had a lot of people within the industry there, and a lot of other acts like Gemini Syndrome and Butcher Babies, and Nine Electric, which some of those guys are and stuff now. And then otherwise, which they would come over, but they're originally from Vegas, and yeah, we sort of had a head start with all that stuff. So when we came back out as Royalty Cult, a lot of the industry within LA already sort of knew us, but we had sort of been dormant as musicians, not behind the scenes, but in the public eye for almost 10 years from those days up until we launched Royalty Cult officially in 2020. And for me, I got lucky and fortunate because I was working at the Roxy Theater. And so I would meet a lot more people in the industry. And that's actually how I first met Doc and started talking to him. And I think he was very open to working with us and stuff because of meeting me in that setting and more of a, I was like one of them, instead of just coming at him from a fan standpoint or just, so LA is hard, but it's always been hard. Even when the industry was thriving over there, it's always been hard. Now the industry isn't what it used to be there. The music industry isn't, and even Hollywood itself, a lot of stuff's being filmed in Atlanta and stuff now. Everything's sort of changing, and the music scene might even be more prosperous. The industry coming over here to Nashville now. And that's one of, not the only, but one of the reasons that I moved here in the first place.
Yeah, Dave, is there anything you want to add to that, man?
Yeah. Doc and Josh had gotten close, a couple years back. We had presented him, the track Enjoying the End. He loved the music, and he really brought a ton to that song. He really helped develop the intro and all the almost Spanish style guitar stuff he did. Just a fun guy to work with. All the rehearsals with him were amazing because he's just he's a fun professional guy, and he has a good energy to him. And that was a good experience at the Whiskey that night with with Soulfly and all that. And Doc, it was a good one for the books.
Yeah, and that's a pretty intimate venue, right? Like I grew up in so I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. So I grew up right down I-75 from Detroit. I mean, depending on how much of a lead foot you have, it's and the traffic on 75, it's about an hour north. So it was actually a really cool place to grow up from a music standpoint. Toledo has a really cool music history because it's one of those towns that it sits between Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, Columbus, right? So there's a lot of bands, maybe they would play it on an off night. I mean, I guess like an industry term, maybe it would be like a C market, if like LA, Nashville are A markets, right? Toledo's probably like a C market as a smaller city, but I got a chance to see a lot of awesome shows in Detroit and in Toledo. But you hear about venues like the Whiskey, and I've looked up pictures and stuff, and I've seen obviously, you guys posted stuff when you did that, but it looks like a pretty intimate venue, no?
Oh, absolutely.
It's it's a smaller room in a way. It's about 500 capacity, I think, but
yeah,
in my opinion, it's the most recognized and probably the most popular actual venue. I'm not talking about arena or stadium, but venue in the world, and next to that was probably CBG, but CBGB's is not around anymore, sadly. But yeah, the Whiskey is an amazing place, and we've been very fortunate there in our relationship with them as well, because I also worked at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, which they have the same owner. And I've gotten real close with Mikey Maglieri, who was the grandson of Mario, who started the Rainbow and the Whiskey back in the 60s and the 70s. So we've been fortunate, it was always my dream that was one of my goals on my bucket list coming up, musician was to play the Whiskey a Go Go, and because of bands like Korn selling that place out and stuff like that, and now we've done it multiple times, so we're not trying to toot our own horns. Bands play it all the time, even multiple times, but to know how far the relationship we have with the family there, and to get to play that venue with so many great artists, so it's been amazing. And honestly, most Royalty Cult shows, only one of them has not been at the Whiskey. All the others have been at the Whiskey, and I move all the way to now. First show back is at the Whiskey, so it's what it is.
The Whiskey's kind of a second home in the Rainbow. Definitely a second home for Royalty Cult. It's like our official starting point in a weird way. We just had so much going on based out of LA when the project started, and our debut show was there, and definitely a second home. A lot of love for Mike and the Whiskey.
Are you going to stand up like the whole entire interview, or like what's going on?
Can you even see me?
No, not really, but I mean it's not a big deal. But what's going on? You good?
I'm mysterious. It's like sleep token.
Okay.
No, it's good, man. However you want to vibe. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously so much music history there, man. And again, like it all seemed very like otherworldly growing up in the Midwest, So that's what's cool about getting to do this podcast is talk to people. And Josh, even the first time, I know you talked about you've lived in multiple different parts of the country, man. So you really have been like a journeyman and have gotten to see different parts of the world and how things are. And but man, the music history there, like I can't imagine being in like the same green room that like bands like Motley Crue, Korn, Guns N' Roses. I mean, I could go on and on and on. People, the Doors. I mean, is that a trip when you guys are getting ready to go out for a show and you're like, holy crap?
You can feel it there. You can definitely feel that vibe at the Whiskey, the history, and so many people that we love. You can just YouTube their name and the Whiskey, and they're playing there to a sold out crowd. It's definitely a cool place.
Well, and kudos to the family for keeping it around too. Like you were saying, Josh, a legendary venue like CBGB's is gone, and even unfortunately, with COVID, there's a lot of smaller clubs that have closed their doors. Sadly, that won't reopen. In Toledo, we have Frankie's Inner City, which just opened back up, and same kind of like, well, I mean, I shouldn't say same kind of, but in terms of the bands who have played there, I mean, obviously it's not the Whiskey a Go-Go, but it has a lot of rich music history. There's been so many artists who have played there over the years, from like Smashing Pumpkins, POD, the Goo Goo Dolls.
Awesome.
I think the White Stripes used to go there back in the day, before anybody knew who they were, because again, Toledo's only about an hour from Detroit. So before they blew up, they were playing there. So I think those clubs, man, where people can really cut their teeth, I think that's how those legends kind of grow, because if you can get a room of, a couple of hundred people rocking out, and you have a sound that translates, that can be that earworm for people, it just grows and grows and grows. So I think it's really awesome that those places have stood the test of time, man, because it can't be easy, man, running a business, and dealing with booking shows and dealing with all the things that come with owning a venue, and especially like LA, where there's so much going on, man. So I think it's really cool that it's stood the test of time. It's definitely on my bucket list of places to get to see a show, man.
The location helps a lot too. I mean, they're in the prime location there on Sunset, so people are just drawn to it naturally. But Josh said it, it changed a lot, but it has that magic, and it's still kind of like the musical heartbeat of SoCal. I'd say.
Yeah,
other than maybe San Diego.
The Magliari family has done an amazing job. I mean, that's the love. That's what they live for, and they've done an amazing job of keeping that afloat all these years. And, we got to give it up to Mikey. He's really given us, you mentioned, a chance to grow and cut our teeth there and build, so we're thankful to him. And, to bring us play with Taproot, this is our third time playing with Taproot. Our first time as Royalty Cult, our third time and all. And we're very thankful, you know.
Yeah, that show for everybody listening, that's going to be coming up on April 24th. So all the links will be in the bio for this episode. But finish finish the interview first. Don't cut us off. But after you get done listening to the three of us, click the links in the bio, get your tickets. But yeah, going back to that time, man, you know, you mentioned being able to connect with good people like Doc, the dudes in Gemini Syndrome, Butcher Babies. That you know they've been around a while now and still are doing their thing. Like, is it hard to find good people in the scene? Is it tough to strike that balance between because I feel like every music scene is different, right? Like one of the famous ones is the Seattle music scene in the early 90s and what came to be known as grunge. And I remember when that Pearl Jam 20 documentary came out, it seemed like a very cohesive collective scene, you know, with Cornell and, you know, Pearl Jam before they were Pearl Jam, when they were like Green River, all those bands, you know, Andy Wood, the late Andy Wood from Mother Love Bone, like they all went to each other's shows and were all rooting for each other. How was it for you guys in LA? I mean, you mentioned having Interim Divine before that, but you know, is it just kind of like hit and miss in terms of the bands, or was it pretty cohesive in terms of people rooting for each other and helping each other out, or you know, referencing maybe producers to work with? I mean, what was that like at that time for you guys as you were building Royalty Cult?
Back then with Royalty Cult, we, you know, just were never going to take no for an answer from anybody, you know, and that's the way we are now still. But, you know, sort of, I'm a go getter and I'm crazy. So I myself in these situations, you know, like I'm like, hey, we're here. Even if you don't like it, we're here, you know, not arrogant, but I'm just letting, you know, just letting people know like, hey, we're here and we can be a part of this too. And we can do this, you know? And so they were very welcoming. There was camaraderie between all those bands back then. Now, and there's some great bands in the scene. There's some cool people, but there's not really that Seattle vibe or even the vibe of Butcher Babies and Gemini and stuff from, you know, a little bit over. That's not that really there anymore in LA. You know, there's some bands that support each other and stuff, but it's just not that movement vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's just not like that right now. There's more of that going on in the scene here in Nashville. I'm not trying to knock on LA or the scene there whatsoever, but it's just not like that currently. And hopefully it gets back to that. But you know, we've been very fortunate, you know. We put ourselves out there and for the most part we've been accepted with open arms, you know.
Yeah. And what has that like just building on that, Josh, what has that been like for you transitioning and moving here to the Nashville music scene? You know, because the last time we talked a little over a year ago, it was like you know, and I mentioned that I had lived here and you were talking about, yeah, I hear really good things about the music scene there. And it's definitely a place that's could be a potential destination. It's more affordable than LA. But what's it been like for you here, man, hitting the ground running as far as, you know, being here, what, just under a year now you guys have come here, right?
Yeah, 10 months ago. It's been great, honestly. Gone out as much as I would like to. Already we've met some great musicians in the scene here, some great bands, and everybody, like I said, there's more of a camaraderie here that I've noticed, and everybody is like rooting for you and wants to see everybody succeed. You know, in LA, there's a lot more competition vibe. You know, here it's been just a lot more friendly. Like I said, I have not gone out as I would like to, but I have been to some shows. I have met, you know, quite a few musicians in the scene here in the hard rock metal scene. And it's been great. And honestly, that's how I got involved with Jeremiah Scott, the guitar player of Demon Hunter. And now I'm tracking all my vocals with him. And Demon Hunter's one of my favorite bands. So that's been amazing. So it's been great. You know, I want to get out more, but I'm always just busting my butt trying to work and, you know, pay for life in general and pay for this music thing because it's astronomical. So I haven't been out as much as I would like to be, but the scene here has been very great, very supportive. And actually, the guy that's going to play bass with us at the whiskey show on April 24th with Taproot is from Nashville and the Nashville scene that I met. And he's just a great human being, you know, named Andy Cabana, you know, and he's just a brilliant guitarist, bassist, vocalist, you know, and he's just an overall just great human being, in which that's the most important part. So the scene here so far has been great. We can't wait to play here and it'll happen and play elsewhere. But yeah, it's been a good experience thus far.
Yeah, man, that was it was cool getting a chance to hang back in August when we went to shows at Exit In the end. And it was actually cool walking in with you, man, because like the door guy who was checking everybody in, he recognized you like right away, you know, and he thought I played guitar, and I was like, oh cool, I guess I play guitar in the band now. But I was like, no, dude, I'm just but but that was cool, man. I bet that felt good, you know, being in a new place to get recognized right off the bat like that. And that was that Zach Fest? Was that what it was? I think.
Yeah, Zacapalooza, I
Zach,
believe it was.
yeah.
And yeah, that was a cool experience. It was cool to walk in. I had just pretty much, you know, moved here about 5 months prior. And, you know, he was like, wait a minute, you're the singer of Royalty Cult. And he knew us from our song Separation. And that was the reason I was on the podcast last time. And in our involvement with Sahaj, you know, the singer of, you know, the band Raw. And he's also produced, you know, 3 of the songs that are going to be on our upcoming record, you know, including Separation.
Yeah, shout out to Raw, man. I remember that first record when that came out in God, I think I was probably in 8th grade. We're talking over 20 years ago, 2001, 2002. I think I heard the single on the radio first because in Detroit we had 101 The Riff and 89X, and then in Toledo we had 106.5 The Buzz, and they would play like the alternative and the rock 104.7. But I remember here, was it Do You Call My Name? I think it was that.
Yep.
I think it was the first one from those guys that I heard, and it had kind of that groove a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, this is really good. But yeah, so Dave, how did you guys link back up then? Was that recently? How did that come back about?
So, I mean, initially, just to start Royalty Cult, you know, from In Term Divine and the time in between that, Josh left the project initially in Term Divine. You know, we went a different direction with a female vocalist that lasted for a couple of years. He was in various projects for a couple of years. And then I had just started writing so kind of like a more thrashy metal style project. And Josh and I reconnected on that, and it was a short-lived thing. It didn't see, you know, the light of day, unfortunately, due to circumstances. But that was kind of like the catapult into Royalty Cult, because then I just started writing all this alternative metal, you know, crazy stuff, and getting together with Josh and just, you know, writing all the vocals. And before we knew it, we just had a ton of material. So we just, you know, jumped in the studio and started the birth of all that stuff, and linked up with Josh Buma, Skylit Sound. They're out of LA, and did the first record. And, you know, like we talked about earlier, had Doc involved. But yeah, I mean, we had just taken a couple of years where we went in different directions, and then we never stopped talking. We've always been, you know, best friends and brothers. And we just started saying, hey, let's do this again. And that other project just crumbled so fast. But then we realized, you know, working together, we can get a lot of cool stuff done. And we're on the same page so much songwriting wise that it just made sense. And before we knew it, we had a full record, and we were already writing the second record. And so it's been cool. And then, yeah, I did have to step away from Royalty Cult live for like over a year and a half, because I live in Northern California, and I've been up here for probably the duration of Royalty Cult. Josh was in LA, I was in Northern California, now he's in Nashville. And I had a wildfire come through my area right after I just bought a homestead in the Sierras, and the Caldor fire happened and burnt my entire city to the ground. My home was luckily spared. And so I took some time away to, kind of after the Soulfly show to assess and, rebuild our lives basically, because it was a catastrophic fire. Like it just destroyed. I mean, I took a lot of damage. Luckily, the home stood, but we went through that. So I had like some rebuilding to do and just some time that I really needed to dedicate to my family and just so Josh just full steam ahead, kept things going. And I wrote Separation with him and Sahaj and those songs. And, there's a lot I've still been involved in. And we had most of the songs written prior to my leaving anyway, but Josh just spearheaded the project while I was away. And once things were kind of grounded again, he's like, get back in here, man. So, we started doing that, talking to Mikey McVeary, who was really encouraging that to happen. And before we knew it, we were, neck deep in the second record, and we had the show with Taproot booked and a couple other cool things we have in the works. We're not going to mention just yet, but some cool, exciting stuff coming. But yeah, that's the story of that.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, man, because I remember seeing all that
Thank you.
stuff on the news, and it's terrifying. I
Oh yeah,
can't imagine just being in your neighborhood and having something like that happen. I mean, the closest that I can even relate to it, just to relate to what you were talking about, was right about 2 months ago here, we had a tornado come through, and there was one that came through right before COVID in 2020. Um, that hit kind of like right through downtown, not far from where I work. And then it went east. Hit a lot of stuff in East Nashville, but this one that came through in December literally hit a mile from where I live and where I'm talking to you guys right now, and it was pretty
man.
gnarly. Uh, I had gotten my hair cut at the barber shop down the street from me. A lot of good people over there. Shout out Hendersonville Barbers. And about an hour and a half after I left, they got hit. And
Oh my
thankfully
God.
everybody survived. Here a lot of people, and I don't know if it's similar in California, but a lot of people here in Nashville don't have basements because there's a lot of limestone and rock. Like where I'm from in the Midwest, that was the hangout, was the basement, but we
Right,
had
right.
dirt up there. Like you got to have some cashola blast through all that rock, but thankfully where the barbershop I go to is they're kind of built into a hill. So they have a downstairs and people were able to get down there. So they took damage. That was pretty gnarly, but thankfully nobody got hurt. Everybody survived, but that's the closest I've come. So again, not making it about me, but just relating to you being in a situation where it's like Mother Nature it can be really gnarly. Like that was really crazy just to have something less than a mile away from where I live take damage. So I'm glad you're cool, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there was a multitude of things happening during that summer leading up to the Soulfly show. And, my father passed away. Josh was dealing with his father and a health scare. And then, that fire happened. And it was so much to the point where, Josh understood I needed just to take time to hold together what I had. And, you know, a thousandfold gratitude to him for just spearheading Royalty Cult in the meantime and, moving 1,000 miles a minute like he does, just accomplishing stuff. But yeah, and now I'm back and, we're ready to go. We're so excited for the show in April. That's just going to be a lot of fun. Taproot's amazing live. Some of the funnest shows we played, around 10 years ago was with Taproot. And so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, and to build on that, man, thanks again, you guys, for taking the time to do this, man. I got a lot of respect for what you guys do. I love the atmosphere on that record that came out in 2020, man. Like there's
Thank
so
you.
many great songs on there. And I love kind of like the moody uh nature of the stuff going on in between the instruments too, and in between Josh's voice, man, and the drums and the guitars and everything. I feel like it really is like it takes you somewhere, you know what I mean? And I think that's
Thank you.
what's cool. Those extra things that get added to songs like that. And even to say things like I'm not musically inclined. So I don't want to be I'm not belittling it by saying things I don't know the correct words to say, but like those other elements that kind of almost make it a little cinematic-y, you know what I mean? I think that's really a cool aspect to what you guys are doing. There's a mood, there's a vibe. Um,
Thank you.
but But yeah, music it has that ability to help us escape. I mean, for you guys and the things that you've gone through, and it's actually a good kind of segue into your most recent single, "The Dying," which was a beautiful tribute to Jeff Sills. And
Thank you.
again, I'm sorry for your loss, man. But just music being kind of a form of therapy and a place to be able to escape, or a place to kind of go back to after all of these things. I mean, what's that been like for you guys in your lives, and especially through these dark times that you've been through, to be able to have that to turn to?
Um, you know, the song "The Dying" came about in our original band together, Interim Divine. Jeff had actually joined the band when we let go of our previous guitar player. He had joined the band, and I ended up leaving just a couple months after that. But Dave has known Jeff since they were teenagers, in middle school and high school and all that. And I got to know, Jeff at that time. But then after that, Dave referenced another project that we were working on in between called World on Fire, and we were in that with Jeff as well. And we tried to get him in Royalty Cult, but sadly, our lives just didn't align, and it didn't happen the way that it hoped that it would. And I had always wanted to finally finish "The Dying" because that song means a lot to me. It's one of my favorite songs that I've ever been a part of. And um, we were devastated when Jeff passed in 2022. And we were like, you know what? Like, we have his tracks, his solos, and all that stuff that he did. Let's maybe go back to the drawing board on that song and finally finish it the way it should be finished, and put Jeff's, parts in there, and, just let it live forever with great production. And, maybe the greatest production that Jeff's ever been a part of, not taking anything away from anything else he ever did, but, just as top notch as possible, and do it for his family, and that just meant a lot to us, and we really feel like Jeff would be proud. And we got an awesome video for it that's sort of sad, but it's great. It's got a certain vibe to it, a vibe that we know Jeff would have loved. It's a vibe that we love, and so far it's gone great. And the feedback that we've gotten from not only our audience but from his family, it's really just meant the world to us. We know Jeff would have been proud, and we just wish that he was here to actually be doing it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, is anything you want to add to that, man, or just talking about just the time that you got a chance to spend with him while he was here?
Yeah. I mean, Jeff was one of my best friends I've ever had. He was like an older brother. You know, performing with him and writing with him was always a pleasure because he was just so insanely talented. Just one of the coolest, best people. You would have liked him. I just met you, and I already like you. I can tell you would have loved Jeff. He's the same energy, just good energy, good man. Do the right thing when no one's looking, and shred the guitar like the heaviest metalhead that ever lived. And Josh and I talked about bringing The Dying back. We had already kind of been thinking about bringing some of the songs from that project, to light in Royalty Cold, and reapproaching the production and rehashing some of those tracks. And then The Dying, and having Jeff be a part of that, it just made perfect sense. Letting him and his guitar work get produced on the level it did with Chris Collier, like Josh said, and just getting that to like live on and have the tribute video, to him. And because the song is not about Jeff, obviously. I know Josh has given some explanation on that. Jeff wrote that song with us, quite a few years ago, and we were tracking it, and it never got released in that format or that version. And so it just made perfect sense to do that. And it's really cool to see his name, as the featured artist. And I know his family said that meant a lot to them. And just, I'm really close with his, family, and all of our friends growing up. We're all connected kind of by Jeff. He was kind of like the glue of a lot of our friend groups, and everybody just gave it a really good response. So, we were proud to release it. and it's good just to keep his memory alive forever.
Well said, man. And you mentioned the song's not about him, but is it kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Serendipitous that, that, sadly with his
Yes,
passing in kind of a weird full circle way, lyrically, at
right.
least it kind of feels like it could be.
Well, Josh and I, and Josh can elaborate, but we reached out to, especially his sister. That's kind of the person he was the closest to in, this whole world. And, we said, hey, we're not trying to release this and have it be in bad taste, because it's called The Dying and he passed. Here's the lyrical content. There are haunting similarities in circumstance, and then a lot of it has nothing to do with it at all. And so we wanted to clarify that to them. And then, when we started working with the guy that did the video, and he sent us the stuff. We sent it to them first and said, what do you think? We don't. It's dark, but it's a beautiful representation of Jeff because it's really very true to Jeff's character and Jeff's nature, and the way it ends with him going to the light and all that. But yeah, we got their blessing before all that because yeah, there's a lot of almost spooky coincidence there with that. I know what you mean.
And that
Yeah.
is
Oh,
Gergar.
Josh.
That's Lance that did the video, and he did
Yeah,
an amazing job. He went above and beyond. He's a new
absolutely.
working with, and like to work with in the future. But yeah, I just wanted to say his name out loud, since we were talking about the video and stuff, and show respects to him as well.
Yeah, shout
Yeah,
out
100%.
Lance Gergar. Is that how you say his last name?
I believe so. Yes, we just literally met him just a couple weeks before the video came out, and he did an amazing job. He put everything down for us and did that video for us, and he really got behind, what it was for Jeff's family, and we really applaud him. And we hope to work with him on our next official video as well. Moving forward, so we'll see how it goes, but we really thank him as well for putting in the work that he did.
Yes, very much so. That video was incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting a great response, man. Like I listened to the song first before I watched the video because I always like to try to vibe with it in the ears first, you know what I mean? But just in the skull but between the ears and then watching the video, it was really cool, you know. Like you said, it's sad and it's a little dark, but I really how it starts and how it plays out is really cool. It's as far as the pictures and the fade to black, but then going into the light. You know what I mean? It's a really
Yeah,
cool kind of like you said, kind of trippy, almost. The fact that the song is called "The Dying," but it's been in existence for a while, which I didn't know before talking to y'all. But and again, I think that was super classy of you guys, especially like you were saying, Dave, with the name of the tune, to reach out to the family, because obviously death, it's never a good time to die, man.
no,
And you don't want people to get the wrong impression about something or think that it's coming off of exploitative. And I didn't get those vibes at all, and I'm sure they didn't either. And but I think that was class act to you guys to go by them first. Again, kind of in a weird way too. I had sort of a similar thing, um, in terms of something coming out after somebody passed a few years ago. I had a guy on my podcast, shout out Keith Wagon, and loved music, and was in Memphis for a while. Took photography of live shows for years, and got to take pictures from all different kinds of awesome artists. Like Aerosmith, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I hope one day his family releases stuff from his catalog because he got to shoot a lot of cool stuff over the years. But when I interviewed him, he was on his way out. He had cancer, and we
oh wow,
talked while he was getting care. Um, and I didn't end up being able to get the episode out before he passed, but it ended up being a cool tribute, to him.
yeah,
And a few members of his family reached out to me after the fact, when that came out. I think it was November of 2021, and it ended up being kind of a like a cool tribute to him. And even at the end of the music video, there's that voicemail that you guys have, which I think is really cool. You know what I mean? There's people that are no longer in my life that I wish I still had those voicemails, you know. I still have their
Yeah.
numbers, you know what I mean? But it's just the other
Well,
day I
that's a
was
very spooky thing with that. Oh, I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
no, go ahead, man. I'm ranting a little bit, so I tend
No,
to
No,
do.
no, that voicemail is another one of those, haunting coincidences where he left that for my brother. Josh edited, some of the personal details out of the message and just made it more universal, just to show who Jeff was as a person. But that was literally a couple weeks before he passed that he left that, and so it's hard to listen to, but it also, it always shows who he is. It just, you can tell, how much he loved all his friends and family, and just, yeah, we miss him a lot. But I didn't, sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to go back to that because that's a very, it's a bittersweet thing to listen to, at the end there.
No need to apologize at all, man. Like I said, I've a tendency to rant a little bit, but yeah, just relating to that, like, you know, it is sensitive releasing something after somebody dies, but I think the you know, again, the music video, the song itself, you know, kind of the trippy way, for lack of a better way to say it, that, you know, lyrically, even though it wasn't about him, just the way that it all kind of related, I think despite the heaviness of the loss, you guys did a great job with the video and with the song, and I know he'd be proud. I wish I got a chance to know him just hearing you guys talking about him, and I'm sure his family's excited about it because, you know, that's a beautiful thing about music, right? And you guys would know more than me, just being musicians yourselves, but I think one of the coolest things about it is it's kind of in a way it's eternal. Like these songs live on, you know, after
Exactly.
artists and people pass, and just like your guys' songs will live on, and that's a really cool imprint to leave behind on the world. You know, there's some people who live their whole lives sadly, and they don't ever, you know, get a chance to really, for whatever those reasons may be, latch on to, you know, something that means something important to them. You know what I mean? And the fact
Yeah.
that musicians like yourselves get to leave that imprint on the world is a really beautiful thing, man.
Thank you. I agree. And I, Jeff's going to live forever in our hearts and our minds. But every time we play that song, we get a little bit more of him, and it's cool. It hurts, like I said, it's bittersweet, but it is an eternal place to go and kind of connect with him. And music is that for everybody in so many different ways. That's the whole reason we do this. You know, all ambitions aside, that's the core reason.
yeah, we've had family reach out. Jeff's reached out to us and, thank us, you know, and say that, this is something from Jeff that we can hold on to forever. And that's awesome. That's why we did it, and so it was just a really great experience to get to do all that. Um, you know, and like you're mentioning, no matter what happens to us in our careers or lack thereof, you know, to know that we can leave music that could leave an imprint and a footprint on people's lives even after we're gone, that's why we ultimately do it. We want to make people feel the way that our favorite artist made us feel.
Right.
Well, you guys are doing it, man, and I'm glad that you linked back up. And before we wrap it up, and again, Josh, Dave, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to do this. It's this is why I love doing these things, man. Because
Thank you.
everybody goes through stuff. Oh, you're welcome, you know, and it's good to talk about these things, you know, whether people pass, you know, keeping their memory alive, but also just, you know, shedding light on dope musicians like you guys, man. So before we wrap it up, once again, you guys are playing with Taproot on April 24th at the Whiskey. Um, anything else that you guys can spill? And again, I don't want to you know, I don't want to spill anything before you want to spill it, because I'm not about that life. These aren't gotcha questions, but what can you tell fans out there of Royalty Cult and listeners to the show who might be new to your music as far as what you guys are working on, or kind of what potentially what deeds can you share about the new record?
Well, we possibly got another really cool show coming up. Um, like Dave said, we're not going to announce it yet because nothing's been announced. It's not official yet, but that's going to be a really great opportunity for us, and we're thankful for that as well. And we're also going to be playing in some other states, including Nashville, and getting out of nothing wrong with California and the Los Angeles bubble, but getting out of just being, we're going to be playing some other places throughout the U.S. Coming up in the future, and we got some really cool stuff and surprises coming up on our upcoming record. It's going to be about, we're shooting for about a 12-song album, but we're going to be releasing every song as a single first, because that's just the way of the world right now with this, the streaming and all. And once all those songs are released, then you'll have the complete, and eventually, as soon as possible, we'd like to get, actual, vinyl for our first album that you were talking about, Enjoying the End from 2020. And then when this album officially drops, the new one, which we do know that it's going to be called The Dying, we'd like to get that on vinyl and stuff as well. Even cassette tapes are coming back, so maybe we'll have some of those. And we do know that the album's called The Dying. It's our second official release. And we do know that the song that we just released is going to be the last track on the record. But that's all we know of things and stuff like that. But we do have some cool stuff coming up that we're actually literally working on right now, and we know that that'll be really cool for, music fans.
Exciting collaborations. I guess that's all we can say.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Enjoying the End was sick, and when we got a chance to catch up last year, and Separation again, another dope music video. People need to check that out, man. Yeah, I don't even know if I could pick a favorite track from the first record. Oracle, Shadow of a Mountain, obviously Enjoying the End. I mean, there's a lot of awesome ones on there, man. And you guys opened it up with Quite Vexing. That was a great one to start it off, and I'm sure that's a fun process too, right? The ebb and flow to a full listen, because there
Oh yeah.
still people out there like us, I'm sure, where when there's a new album coming out, like I'm listening to that mug front to back. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big Alter Bridge fan. When the new Slipknot record came out, it's like I got to start at the beginning. Bad Wolves, their latest record was sick. Like,
Yeah.
start at the front and go to the back. Are you guys the same way with new music? And
Oh
do
yeah.
you think about that as you put these songs together? Like, how would this flow together as a record?
Absolutely. Yeah. Me and Josh kind of painstakingly go over details like that almost too obsessively. But yeah, we like the same thing. All our favorite albums, and they just started with an opening track that grabbed you, and the record led you through song after song, and you couldn't stop listening to it until you finished the journey. We tried to pull that off. We tried to with Enjoying the End, and it sounds like you're saying we sort of did, so that makes me very happy.
Yeah, no, I think that was great to use that as a closer, especially with the slow guitar intro, you know what I mean? And then kind of fading it out at the end too was really dope, man.
We always go for a cinematic feel with a lot of our stuff, and especially the title track of the record. That one just kind of wrote itself. Once Doc got involved, the energy and all of it coming together, it was really cool, really special, and it encapsulated the record. So we were like, that's it, that's the one.
I wanted a darker feel for this record because I think all in all, the record, we always have dark elements and light elements and things like that, but I feel like the second a little bit darker. I'm not coming saying that, this is the heaviest record we've ever done, like a lot of bands say and stuff like that. But even though the heavy stuff on here is a lot heavier than the stuff on, the first album, but it's just a lot darker of a vibe. And I've always loved dark things like The Crow and just stuff like that, and So, and I like my art dark. That's the direction I wanted to go in on this one. Who knows? The next album after this might not be like that. So, but yes,
We always
Gustavo.
kind of have a dark vibe to everything we do. Even the first record does, I'd say, to an
Yeah.
extent, but you're right, not like the second record. It's a lot darker, it's a lot more mature. The stuff that we've been writing and the stuff we're experimenting with, it's just all much darker in vibe and tone. Yeah, I'm so excited for this record. I can't wait for everyone to hear everything that's happening behind the scenes even now. Like, I think everyone's gonna like it a lot. If you like Royalty Cult, that is, I think you're gonna like this.
Well, I'm excited, man. Shout out Gustavo and shout out you guys for doing this, man. I greatly appreciate it. And before we officially wrap it up, I mean, like you guys were saying, man, from forest fires, death, moving around, music scene, the cost of living and the cost of making good music. What advice would you guys give to people, whether they're creatives or not, just with the theme of the show, being perseverance, moving forward? We're at the beginning of the year. Um, Anything that you feel like is worth mentioning, just as far as something that you feel like could be helpful to somebody out there as far as what you've gone through. And again, you don't have to bring up personal stuff and really intimate stuff, but just as far as everybody goes through dark periods, whether it's heartbreak or death or financial struggles. But what ultimately gets you guys through those tough times, and helps you persevere and get to the light in your own lives?
I'll let you start, Josh.
Um, yeah, like you mentioned, Mike, everybody goes through tough times in life. That's just inevitable. It's always going to happen. But, you know, hopefully everybody can find something that they love more than anything. And you go after it, and you put in the work and you don't stop. And that might sound cliche, but that's the way it works and that's the way it happens. Look at artists like Jelly Roll and things like that and where he's at now and the things that he overcame. That's just for an example. There's many artists that have done it, you know. You just never stop and we just don't stop. There's times where, I mean, this stuff gets very overwhelming. Not only do we have our regular lives to worry about, but our dreams as well and the things that we've always wanted for our careers. And we want to make music our career more than anything, because we feel that that's what we're put on this earth to do. And so we don't let anything, as hard as life can get, sadly, people passing and, just life happening the way it does, your car blowing up or just whatever it is, you losing your home. I personally always, focus on my art, and I just can't stop doing that or else I feel like there's no point in being here, as bad and bleak as that might sound, like I have to do this thing, and, even if my ultimate dream never comes true, we're still going to just be putting out music and putting out videos and playing shows and putting out content, and there's no reason for Royalty Cult to ever go away until we're gone, and we're going to keep doing this no matter what and keep putting out music that we love, that hopefully other people love, but you already mentioned it, so I don't want to, sound again too cliche, but perseverance, just stopping, going after what you love more than anything. And sadly, and you also mentioned before, not everybody finds that thing. And to me, I think that's one of the saddest things because everybody has the ability to do great things. That's who we are as human beings, and I wish more people knew what they wanted. And if they know what they want, to go after it because it is possible. And we've seen it happen millions of times to people that we look up to and that you look up to and that anybody looks up to. It is possible. And that's why I never stop personally.
Yeah. I'd follow that up by saying perseverance is the fabric of success. I mean, if you're going to build something, you don't stop. Even when you think you've got there, you just keep going. And no matter what comes, songwriting to me is what gets me through my darkest times. I mean, that's my outlet. That's my my safe place. That's where I pour everything into so that I don't break, myself. And luckily, we have found that thing, and we have Royalty Cult for that. And sharing that with people is what it's all about. And hopefully, it helps as many people as it can. And we bring some joy to people and some enjoyance.
Well, you got a fan in me, and I know I'm not the only one, man. I know there's a lot of them out there, and the proof is in the pudding. And I want everybody listening to this to check out Royalty Cult. Keep an eye out for the new music and go run up the numbers on the dying, man. Well, Josh, Dave, again, dudes, thank you so much. I feel very fortunate that our paths have crossed. Just as somebody
Same.
out who loves music and enjoys sharing these conversations with people. If I reach one person, I feel like I've done my job, man. And
Exactly.
and I think that's how you create positive waves. It's just one person making one good thing happen, one ripple effect at a time, man. And people have different outlets for it. And for me, it's this podcast, and for you guys, it's your music. And it's cool when you come across good people, man. And you guys are good people in my book. So for everybody who's not aware of Royalty Cult, let them know where they can find you out there, man.
You can search us anywhere on social media or online. Pretty much all of them are just at Royalty Cult, and that's Royalty Cult with a K, not a C, except for Instagram's Cult Music. Is the only one that sort of changed a little bit, but you can find us anywhere on streaming platforms and on social media, or just do a quick Google search and all of our stuff will come up there as well. And we thank you, Mike. I'm glad that our paths crossed with you as well. You're a great person, and that's the kind of people that we love being around, So I think,
Exactly.
you're definitely a good human being. And so we're very thankful.
I agree. Thanks, man.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Josh and Dave of the band Royalty Cult. Make sure you go follow them on Instagram at Royalty Cult Music. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support my friends in Royalty Cult. You will not be disappointed if you love hard rock and modern metal. Great lyrics, as you guys just heard in that conversation. Their latest single, The Dying, featuring Jeff Sills, is out now, available everywhere that you get your music. Also, go check out the music video on YouTube. That link will be in a podcast description for this episode as well. I just want to say thanks again to Josh and Dave for taking the time to come on the podcast and share their story with the listeners, man. Josh and I, like I said at the jump, we've known each other for about a year now, and it's been really cool to see him continue to chase his dreams of music. And he's got a hell of a voice. And I'm not just saying that because I know him and because he's taken the time to come on this podcast and share his story with y'all, man. He's a really good guy, and I feel very fortunate to connect with him. And same thing with Dave, being able to get him on the show for the first time and learn more about their relationship and their friendship and how far back they go, and get his perspective on Jeff as well and this song. It's just really cool, man. And I think what's awesome is, as you guys heard in that story, beautiful things can come out of tragic things, and they were able to take something tragic and turn it into something beautiful. And the dying ended up being an awesome tribute to their friend. And another cool cyclical thing that you guys heard about is in April, on April 24th, they're going to be performing at the Whiskey with Taproot, who they originally played with way back in 2010 when they were still in Interim Divine. So, a cool episode about serendipity and cyclical things, and also I think overall how good things happen in good time to good people. So often we see stuff where it's like, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people? And I think this shows a great example in this episode in particular about how good things happen if you just stay on your grind and keep persevering, keep moving forward, keep chasing your dreams, and keep it all in perspective, and don't let the noise and the static of the world get in the way of whatever it is that you're going after, man. And again, I struggle with that. I'm not sitting here preaching from my high horse. I've got anxiety, I've got OCD tendencies, where I have to check things, and I've gotten better at it over the years. But it's just it's one of those things where you do certain things because it makes you feel safer in some way. And through therapy and everything, I've learned that a lot of these things kind of come from our childhood or come from trying to protect ourselves from certain things. So we all have our demons, man. We all have our things that we struggle with, but it doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you unworthy. And at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people who live life on autopilot, man. They get sold a bill of goods, or they let fear get in the way, or people in their life who don't want to see them shine because that makes them feel inferior, and they allow the world to tell them what to be. Don't let the world tell you who you are. Don't let the world tell you what to be. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, we all got to eat, man. We all got to pay bills. We all got to keep the lights on and keep the water running, keep gas in the car, keep food on the table for ourselves and whoever we're responsible for, right? So, you got to do what you got to do to survive, and you got to work to survive, right? But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you shouldn't make time for the things and the people that you love, man. And if there was something that was given to you when you were young that you didn't ask for, and I am parroting Denzel when I say this, shout out Denzel Washington, one of my favorite actors, but that's the proof that those are the things that you should be pursuing. You know what I mean? For some people, it's music, like Josh and Dave. For me, in a roundabout way, even though I'm not a musician, it's music, it's podcasting, it's connecting with people through this show. Again, shout out Ken, the guy that I mentioned at the intro, who reached out to me earlier this week when I was having a rough day, and out of the blue, never met Ken in my life, and he found the episode that I just did with Max Gabriel. Shout out, another good dude, and talked about how it was really cool to hear that message. He took time to share content, and tell me, how much he dug the show. He referenced me, a guy who he thinks would be a great guest for the show, and that's what this is all about, is connecting with people in a positive way. I'm not famous. I don't have a million followers. I don't have a million downloads. I don't have $1 million. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that I don't have the ability to create positive ripple effects in the waters that I swim in my world, and in my circle. You know what I mean, with this show. So to anybody who takes the time to listen, to like, to subscribe, to connect, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, man. I love you all, and I really appreciate you. And I hope conversations like this with Josh and Dave, learning about royalty cult, turning negatives into positives, chasing dreams, it's all necessary, man. If we get one life to live, why not go after the stuff that you really really are excited about, the stuff that makes you feel most alive? You know what I mean? Keep food on the table, keep working, keep grinding, but outside of those responsibilities and those bills, make time for the things that you love, whether it's baking, whether it's music, whether it's painting, drawing, maybe it's working on cars, maybe you want to start up your own auto detail one business, or business one day. Do it, man. Do it. We never know when the next day that we have is going to be our last one, man. And keep that in mind with how you treat people too. If it's your last interaction on earth, would you want it to be a negative one, whether you believe in God or not? Like, I mean, just be a good person. So I'm ranting a little bit. As you guys can tell, I had my coffee this morning. And if you knew how many times I recorded these intros and closes, because I'm hard on myself. Again, old habits die hard, but I'm really grateful, man. That's the word of the day, is grateful. So once again, go check out Royalty Cult, and that is Cult with a K, Royalty Cult Music on Instagram. Again, all their links are in the podcast description. Run Up the Numbers on the Dying. It's a great song featuring Jeff Sills. And if you want to reach out to yours truly here, once again, I'm on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I'm on YouTube at March 4th Pod. I'm on TikTok now at March 4th Podcast. I'm just laughing because the old man in me, like, I didn't even get on Instagram until 2020, man. I'm such a caveman. But all the links to my stuff are in the podcast description as well. So if you want to reach out and holler at me, tell a friend to tell a friend about the show, leave a rating and review if you dug what you heard on either Spotify or Apple. It helps these conversations get out to more people, and we can spread love and positivity and joy, which I really feel like is my purpose before my time's up, man. So thank you all. Keep the faith and be kind to one another. Courtesy of Royalty Cult, you know what it is. Here is their latest single, The Dying, featuring Jeff Sills. Peace.